So, James Heappey, the Armed Forces Minister, is with us now. Good morning to you, James Heappey. Obviously, emotions are extremely high and very tense, aren't they, for everybody? We've heard from Atifa, a student this morning who's just landed in this country. She's terrified for her family. Everybody is scared. Can you give us some indication of how many RAF and military flights are still due to leave, and when you think that Pen's commercial flight might, when it arrives on Friday, be able to pick him and others up?
So there are 11 flights, RAF flights, scheduled for the next 24 hours. That gives us a seat capacity of over 3,000 across all of those flights. So, as has been the case throughout, capacity on planes is not the issue. The issue is the ability to get people into the airfield and through the security checks, and that's what's causing the queues. But those security threats are necessary. 4 people have pinged in country as a consequence of the checks that are being done who were on the UK no-fly list. That means that they have been identified as individuals who pose a direct threat to our national security. So we have to do the checks. That limits the flow into the airport because we have to assure the security of those that we're bringing into the country. But the flight can land. We're aware of this flight that's been chartered from a Polish operator. We're aware of the plan to operate it through Tajikistan. That is all fine. We can facilitate that through the Combined Air Operations Centre, which is run by the United States out of Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. They will be the ones who will give it the landing slot. The issue is, as Dominic rightly says, the issue is getting Pen into the airfield. And there are some hard realities about that. We will be able to facilitate Pen going in as a priority, as a British passport holder. But unfortunately, his staff, who we have moved heaven and earth to get into the Leave Outside the Rules scheme, as Dominic rightly noted, they are now included in that. But the reality is that to give them safe passage or to effectively bring them through ahead of everybody else in the queue means we are moving other equally desperate Afghans out of the way in order to bring them forwards. And that's a horrible position for me to be in order to make a choice, and I hope that your viewers and I hope that Dominic understands that.
But could it be the case that those 11 military flights, the last ones, do their job, and then this commercial flight could be the last one to leave?
Yeah, but as I said, there is no. You shouldn't think that the 11 flights that are scheduled to come in today are the last 11 flights. I mean, we're deliberately not advertising when the last of the evacuation flights are, but they're not amongst these 11 over the next 24 hours. So this is not about capacity on planes. The plane that has been chartered can come in if there's extra capacity on that plane that Dominic and Pen want to make available. That's not in any way unhelpful. But it's never been about capacity on planes. This is about access to the airfield. Yeah. It is important to do the checks that we are doing. That is causing the queue. And we haven't even mentioned yet the fact that there is now a highly credible, very imminent, highly severe threat in place that has caused us actually to be advising people against going to the airport and asking those who are at the airport to move away to a place of safety. And
in relation to that, your Armed Forces Minister, of course... Oh, hang on a moment. Sorry, the vision just broke up there.
Okay.
In relation to that extremely dangerous terror threat that you talk about from ISIS-K, I think this new, even more severe group, if one can imagine that, your concern must be, of course, for the safety of our troops on the ground, because they are a target, of course, quite clearly. Is that threat going to change the amount of time you can leave our troops on the ground at the airport? Or will you have to now think about shortening those numbers of Mercy flights and bringing our troops out of there safely in one piece as soon as is feasible?
No. the threat that they're against is severe, but it is one that they are trained and equipped to deal with. But clearly, it's in an extraordinary, chaotic, complex, dynamic security environment, and that means that our young men and women are having to do an amazing job right now in terms of keeping themselves safe and offering some security to those that are in the Baron Hotel and those that have refused to leave and are still immediately outside it. That is an amazing thing that they are doing. We're confident in our ability to secure the area that we're in for however long we need to remain. The issue is that we have to give the Foreign Office advice as it is. We have to discourage people from coming to the airport because the bigger the crowd, the bigger the target. And we know that these abhorrent, barbaric people in Islamic State, and in this case it's their affiliate in Afghanistan, are looking for what they would regard as a spectacular, we would regard as brutal and reprehensible. And that threat is real. We would not, our priority is to get as many people out as possible. If we felt that we could have carried on even with the threat as it was, we absolutely would have done.
So the advice now for other people is to get to the border. That's the words that were used by Ben Wallace. The issue is, how feasible is that? How safe is that? What border do they get to? We know one of the key ones in Pakistan is closed. What facilities are in place? Where do they go at that point?
Well, that remains work in progress, to be completely honest with you. The Prime Minister has said that he expects the Taliban to offer safe passage to those who are fearful for their lives and want to leave the country. We are in conversation with Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, the sort of key countries in the region where we think refugees might try to flow towards in order to get them to work with us in facilitating people's access to the UK through those countries. But those countries are fearful for their own security, and that means that there's a job of work for our colleagues in the Foreign Office to do that diplomacy and to then seek to work with those countries to find a way that is appropriate.
Okay.
I wish I could sit here and give you answers that are positive, but that's just not the situation that we're in, and I think therefore better to be brutally honest about where we're at.
It's a grim
James Heappey, Armed Forces Minister, thank you very much for trying to, shed some light on what is an extremely chaotic and dangerous situation.